One. Hello and welcome to the Box Score Network NFL preview show for Week 18. My name is Simon Short. Joining me this week is Parker and Ben. Welcome in, everybody. How are we doing? It is Week 18. Ben, are you limping or sprinting to the finish line?
Oh, I'm sprinting, man. This is my time of year, man. I've got not only the playoffs, but I've got the off season to look forward to. So starting right at Thanksgiving, man, I've got about 5, 6, 7 teams to work with on off season stuff because they're done, and then I've got the Super Bowl and playoff runs to look at. So no, this is hot time of year for me.
Parker, how are we feeling about the end of the season here?
So obviously my team's out of it. So I'm looking a lot as far as my personal favorites. I'm a big underdog guy, so I'm rooting big for like Baker Mayfield at this point in the season, rooting big for Josh Allen, someone who hasn't won a Super Bowl yet. That's usually the teams I like to root for, teams that I've never seen win one. So I don't want to see the Chiefs win again. I don't want to see the teams I've seen really win it before, except for Tampa Bay, just because Baker's there. I'm a big Baker guy. So Texas, college football is this time of year too, has been saying, there's a lot of other stuff going on. So it's like prime time football. It's like the best time to be a football fan is like this week, and probably the next couple weeks.
I will say, so we're recording this on Friday night. Again, make sure you are subscribed to this channel because over these next handful of weeks here, our schedule is going to bounce around as we, get ready for, wild card weekend and then when conference championships are different, like we'll be doing these different days for the next couple of weeks. But guys, last night, Thursday night, I get my daughter to bed and there's no Thursday night football. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's the end of the season. It's here. Here we are, man. So, bittersweet like you guys are saying, there's stuff to look forward to. There's stuff to trying not to get too upset about just yet. But we're here for the ride. So it's week 18, and we have plenty of teams that are feeling the same way. Some teams are sprinting to the finish line, both for good reasons and bad. Some teams are limping for both good reasons and bad. We will get into all of that. But we're going to start with our game of the week as always. And our game of the week, of course, really the only good game on the slate here for this whole weekend. Vikings at Lions all the way on Sunday night. Detroit is favored by 2.5. Patrick Jones, rotational pass rusher, is out for Minnesota with a knee injury. Alex Anzalone for Detroit could be back to really help that defense who needs it. He has not yet been activated from IR. If that were to happen, that would happen on Saturday. But he has had 2 full days of practice this week, so he's getting better. The team does want to remind themselves to keep him fresh and make sure he's good for the playoffs. Don't want to re-injure that forearm or rush him back from whether it's a soft tissue thing or a conditioning thing, what have you. But they're getting him back to speed for some playoff football. So Alex Anzalone, some reinforcements could be happening for that Detroit defense. Ben, when you look at Vikings at Lions, you've got the Vikings hoodie on. We talked about the Vikings just last week, and they had a great game against the Packers as our game of the week. What are you looking for in this primetime Sunday night showdown that will determine not only the NFC North champion, but the number one overall seed in the NFC?
If you're the Lions, you're just you can't wait to get anybody back, even if they're on limited snap count. That's just the way they are.
Hmm.
And every team's got injuries, and it's like, well, we might get this guy back this week or not. The Lions have just been ravaged on defense.
Oh yeah.
Just getting a guy back in for 20 snaps can make
Hmm.
a huge difference for them each week, whether that's Hutchinson in a possible Super Bowl appearance, maybe, or Anzalone comes in and gets 10 or 12 snaps this week, would be a huge deal for them because of that. This game here, I expect a lot of points. I expect this to be a track meet indoors, a fun game, and a tight game. But ultimately, to me, Ben Johnson and Jared Goff and the offense for the Lions, that looks like the strongest factor in this game. So I'll pick the Lions here in a big time scoring affair.
Parker, how are you feeling about this one?
All right. Well, I am, first of all, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm taking the Minnesota Vikings. Um, I mean, division matchup, man. They've already played once, one score game. I think it was 31-29. Aiden Hutchinson was on was still healthy at the time. Anzalone wasn't he when they played
Yep.
each other? So,
What a world.
yeah, right. There was a lot else. David Montgomery was fully healthy at the time. They had two backfields in the back, really working the offense down the field against Minnesota. Sam Darnold also looks better than he did when he played Detroit the first time. Like he has definitely developed to be the guy running the Minnesota offense and like the reason a lot of this is happening. So I'm going to take Minnesota here. It kind of makes sense as well that these two teams split games this season, that one team doesn't win
Hmm.
both division matchups.
Yep.
So I'm going to take Minnesota.
Yeah, you mentioned Sam Darnold, Parker. One of my favorite things from that game against the Packers last week was there were two successive drive. I think they were successive. There might have been a drive in between where I had talked about on this show last week for our game of the week. Hey, when the Vikings are in third and long, the Packers can really get after Sam Darnold and force some mistakes or force some sacks, and that happened. He took a sack on a third and long. They punted. And then on the following possession or one possession, he threw an interception on a third and long situation. But they did not change the game plan at all. Kevin O'Connell, quarterback whisperer, just is in Darnold's ear. And we saw a clip later on about how he told him, like, hey, step out of the huddle, let me talk to you. And he just told him, like, rip it. Like you're playing great. You're playing like keep doing your thing. And Darnold did, man. They were going for it. I mean, they're up two scores in the fourth quarter, and Darnold's running around, still ripping passes all over the field. This is a different Sam Darnold than we even saw at the beginning of the season, like you said, Parker, where it was, okay, he's dropping back. Okay, he's going to try to get rid of the ball quick, but when he does the Darnold hold on to it too long, bad things happen. Now we're getting a mix of good and bad, and that's okay. You'll take the bad when you get the good, and that's happening. So what I really like for this for Sam Darnold, what I'm looking for, the Lions has used man coverage on over 46% of dropbacks this season. That's the highest rate in the NFL. They've gone to it even more really since all the injuries have happened. They kind of reverted to what they did last year, where it's just we don't have the horses. We're gonna play man. We're gonna blitz, and we're gonna try to force you to make mistakes. Um, and Sam Darnold has been really good in man against man coverage this year. He's tied for the fourth most touchdowns. Only has one interception against man coverage. He's fifth in completion percentage, and he's averaging 8.1 yards per attempt, which is also fifth. So he's killing it in man coverage. Justin Jefferson is a man coverage beater all on his own. All those other weapons are also playing very well for Minnesota. So I really like Minnesota in this. And that Lions defense, if Anzalone comes back, that's huge. More for the playoffs, but getting that green dot captain in the middle is going to be big. But their defense, man, Ben mentioned that the Lions offense is probably the best unit in this game, and I do think that's correct. But the defense is really concerning me right now. Over the first 11 games of the season, Detroit was giving up just 16.6 points per game, which would be first in the NFL right now. The last five games, they're giving up 30 points a game, which would be 31st. And the fact that Minnesota's offense just looks stronger, Darnold looks stronger, I think Minnesota is going to be able to outlast them on the offensive end. And that defense is going to come up with a play or two and really be able to seal it at the end of this game. But I'm with you guys. I think it's going to be high scoring. I think it's going to be back and forth fun. But I think the Vikings are going to be able to pull this one out and win the division and win the conference with Sam freaking Darnold at quarterback. Ben, anything else for you on this game?
Yeah, I will say, and this is a little bit more scoping out on that Lions defense. They're doing the opposite of what I expected them to do once they got hit with that rash of injuries. And I even said it on the podcast, I don't know, 6, 7 weeks ago. I said, hey, I expect them to lay back in more zone and just do some creative blitzing up front and create the pressure that way. They've done the opposite. Now, listen, I love the attitude, right?
Yep.
It's the, hey, pedal on the metal. I mean, full speed forward. We are not backing down for
Hmm.
anybody. That I love, but the results I don't. And
Right.
so, when you look at how many points they're giving up, they're kind of just giving up crap too. So I if with an offense this good, I would be backing off into zone more often. Doesn't mean you have to just complete prevent. I'm not suggesting prevent defense here, but I would be laying back, triangulating on both sides, and then doing some creative blitzing on third down. That's what really I would be doing. They're playing it different, so more power to them.
May maybe when we get to the playoffs, the style they're doing right now, just getting back to base, because this is what they've done for years, ever since Aaron Glenn has been the defensive coordinator when they just didn't have the roster that they had at the beginning of the season. But right now, out of nowhere against a division opponent to just pull something completely different out of their back pocket would, I think, be a really good game plan if they could pull something like that off, completely different than their DNA. I think it'd be really helpful in this game if they could do that, try to neutralize some of the Vikings offense. Parker, anything else for you from this game specifically? And then, when we're thinking about the end of the year, we're thinking about you and I were just gushing about Sam Darnold, how he's playing. If they win, on Sunday night at the end of the regular season, should Darnold get a couple MVP votes if someone can't decide between Lamar and Josh Allen? Is Sam Darnold in the MVP conversation?
So Sam Darnold definitely is for, you know, us guys, guys like us. But for the general population of football fans, like if Patrick Mahomes isn't making the Pro Bowl because of the season Lamar, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow are having off of two Super Bowls, they're the one seed, 15-1, like haven't skipped a beat necessarily. The way they're doing it isn't pretty. But that being said, like I don't think that this win helps Sam Darnold MVP wise whatsoever in like the reality of it. Like, yeah, do we want to say, oh, it's going to add a couple bumps? Sure. Is it going to put Sam Darnold anywhere near high enough to beat the other two? Absolutely not. Not even close. If and if he does, it's because Vegas is making a hell of a lot of money that no one took Sam Darnold preseason to win MVP. That's really it. But this football game, like specifically, like, dude, this happens every time we see like an AFC North matchup or an NFC North matchup or an AFC North matchup. Like, it's just one of those things where you don't know how this game's going to go. As the more you analyze it, the more you really trick yourself into picking the wrong team. So it's almost like I just want to stick with my gut, say Minnesota, and move on.
Yeah, it's Hans. They're so hot right now. Just kind of lean on that. And the Lions have impressed after all those injuries a couple weeks ago, but it doesn't feel quite right. So I'm with you. We're gonna stick with the Vikings. I'm also with you. Sam Darnold's not the MVP, but it'd be really cool for him and for us looking back on the season in 10, 20 years to see him at least on the ballot. Like, right, get one of those top five finishes and just say, remember that Sam Darnold season? I would really enjoy that for 2020 four. I know what year it is. Well, I guess 2025. Anyways, here we go. Let's get into the rest of our picks. Here's some picks analysis. Here's what happened last week. Ben, Parker, and I all went 7-3. Austin just 6-4, not being on the show. That's what happens when you're not here, Austin. You go 6-4. You're behind the rest of us. On the season, Ben is still very much so in the lead comfortably, 162 to 68. I am in second, 157 to 73. Austin is in third, 155-75. Parker is in fourth, 141 to 89. A little update on the analysis. Ben and I went 0-1 last week. I started to talk a lot of trash about how Ben and I were the best pairing, and we lost. So we dipped it back down under 70%. So the only grouping of us over 70% on the season is the Four Horsemen when we're all together. We went 4-1 in those games last week. We're at over 78%. I wonder if we can get to 80%, although week 18 is a bear for everybody. So we'll see what happens. All right, let's get into the rest of our picks. So we have two games on Saturday this week, hence the Friday night show happening here. And it's the AFC North games. HBO mid season, in season, Hard Knocks is having a great time with this. We are going to determine the AFC North winner by having these two games played on Saturday. We're going to start with the Browns at the Ravens. Baltimore is favored by 19.5. Cleveland's down to nothing. You guys, they've got nothing going on here. We're looking at Bailey Zappi playing this game for Cleveland just to see if they got a little something for next year, I guess. Myles Garrett is talking about being traded, but Jerry Jeudy made the Pro Bowl, so all is good. If the Ravens win, they sew up the AFC North officially. So being 19.5 point favorites goes a long way in that. Ben, what do you think for this game?
So this week, you mentioned a few seconds ago, Simon, is the hardest to pick for me because, man, you're trying to figure out which teams are sitting their starters and some of their backups too. And then even if they're playing their backups, which teams still have a chance to win because they're playing a bad roster who maybe also isn't trying that hard to win. And then it's a convoluted mess. It's really hard to pick these games. This one's not hard to pick. Ravens win by a lot. Cleveland's probably even rested some guys here. That quiet quit that y'all talked about last week. Ravens here by a lot.
Parker?
Yeah, I mean, 20-point favorites, dude. How do you not pick that team at least to win? Like just to outright win, doing it the way that we're doing it, our pick'em style. So I'm obviously picking the Ravens. But I'm with Ben, man, on this week. Like it's just like the worst week to bet, worst week to do a pick'em. Like what backup quarterback's gonna be the superhero that like tries to get a job and says, you know what, we're not drafting the number one quarterback. We're gonna get a win this week for what reason, no one knows. So that being said, I'm going to take Baltimore in this one, but the rest of these picks are going to be pretty tough to pick between coming up. Tough week.
Yeah, they gave us an easy one to start, but let's get into this next game here. So the other half of the AFC North battle, the Steelers are playing the Bengals. Now the Bengals are playing for their playoff lives. They get a win, and the Dolphins and the Broncos lose. The Bengals are in the playoffs. The Steelers right now, they're just trying to snap a three-game losing streak. That's the most important thing to them. But obviously, if they win and the Ravens were to lose somehow, the Steelers would still win the AFC North and be the three seed in the playoffs. But really, they're just trying to snap that losing streak. But let's see, the Bengals are favored by 2.5 in this one on the road at Pittsburgh. Ben, what do you think in this one?
This is a fun matchup. Tight. This one was hard to pick for me as well. Really, really difficult. I'll pick the Steelers because they're at home. I will say these two teams took a while to get here, but they finally looked what I thought they would look back at the start of the season. I picked Pittsburgh to freaking miss the playoffs, and Mike Tomlin's just laughed his way through the season until you get to kind of this three-game losing streak here, in which they've looked more like what I kind of expected them to. And Cincinnati's been buried and dead for weeks up until, hey, surprise, here we are. We're
Hmm.
on fire. So the Bengals are just absolutely on fire right now. But still a bad defense, still on the road at Pittsburgh. Give me the Steelers.
Parker.
So this game being on Saturday makes a big difference. I'm going to take Cincinnati to come out here and, play with everything they got. It's a playoff game, essentially.
Hmm.
That being said, if it's also classic Bengals because a lot of my family are Cincinnati fans. They're from Ohio, and I've just seen them go through it as Bengals fans the last since I've been alive, really. Uh, and this is just classic Bengals to like get a win here, think okay, our chances are alive, and then for the Chiefs to just lose and them to just have so much heartbreak. So I'm going to take the Bengals to win. I don't think the Chiefs are going to do them any favors, anyways. But I still think they're going to come out and play this like a playoff game and come out and try to win.
Yeah, I should note that the Bengals are a little bit banged up. Amarius Mims is questionable over there at right tackle. Chase Brown, the running back, is questionable as well. I think it's leaning towards those guys probably not playing in this game. They're definitely banged up. They're 100% just it's Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, D Higgins go get us in the playoffs. I am going with Pittsburgh. Um, I can't I can't see a world where this team loses four in a row going into the postseason.
Mm.
Um, and maybe that's the fan in me speaking, but I think it's as measured as I can get. Just three in a row, I could see. Four in a row just seems impossible. And the chance to bury a division rival sounds great at home. Underdogs, like this is like a Mike Tomlin special. Like he's getting these guys. Like he made T-shirts last week for stuff. Like he's pulling out all the motivational stops that you can think of in this one. So I've got Pittsburgh here winning this game. Um, and I talked about Sam Darnold making a statement at the end of the season. Guys on both sides of this, on both teams, both sides of the ball, trying to make a bit of a statement. Joe Burrow, if he wins and gets them into the playoffs, I do think he's in that MVP conversation. TJ Watt, he's still the favorite to be Defensive Player of the Year, and it's definitely been a down TJ Watt year. Like it's very strange. But there's all these think pieces coming out and all these advanced analytic pieces. Bill Barnwell of ESPN had one about how all his metrics just aren't as strong as they normally are, and that he just said like, "Hey, he's not as good this year," and then Twitter blew up. So I don't know. Maybe TJ Watt gets like 3 sacks on prime time to break a streak for the Steelers here. Or Joe Burrow throws for 450 yards. The Bengals get in the playoffs. So a lot to play for both these teams, both on the individual and the team perspective. Let's get into Sunday here. First slop game, just right off the bat. We have Texans at Titans. The Texans, I haven't seen anything officially that they're playing their backups, but I think if you look at Vegas, they're playing their backups pretty quickly, if not right away, because Tennessee is favored by 1.5 in this game. Ben, which way are you going here? Considering the Texans might be resting some starters or getting some guys out early.
I'm in the same boat because I looked and looked and looked, and I really couldn't find anybody really willing to come out and say it kind of felt like Houston was going to play some guys, sit some guys, but even the guys they played might not play the whole game.
Hmm.
I'm still going to pick the Texans here. Tennessee's just struggling that mightily here at the end of the season, choking along the finish line. If the Texans give a real effort here, and I expect them to, And I know Houston wants to win this game because they're sputtering to the finish line too. Still a bad Tennessee team. Texans backups aren't bad. So give me the Texans here in a really tight, low scoring affair.
Parker.
Yeah, I'm gonna lean Texans as well. I think it's gonna be a tight game. The Titans have been kind of surprising, but I also think the Titans don't want to win this game as well. They are one of those bottom teams, trying to do what they can to increase their draft odds. So I'm gonna take the Texans to win.
Yeah, I'm still taking the Texans as well. The Titans, if that defense was still playing the way they were early on mid-season, I would say they got this, but they've gone home. They're done. And listen, Davis Mills has played a lot. I think Davis Mills can play against this emotionally beat up Titans team. So give me the Texans as well. Next up, we have Panthers at Falcons. Atlanta is favored by 7.5. Atlanta obviously trying to get into the playoffs, win the NFC South still. They will do so if they win and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers lose. So Ben, this first half of what the Falcons need here, are the Falcons going to get the win?
Yeah, I'll pick the Falcons to get the win here. Carolina's not as bad as they looked last week against that Buccaneer buzzsaw, but still, without Chuba Hubbard, I'm not sure that Carolina's got the guns to just straight up win this thing. So give me Atlanta to win. I am just curious to see Michael Penix. Does he continue to play well enough with those weapons to give him some hope in the playoffs? But the Falcons seem to have their mojo back.
Parker. Yeah, I'm going to take the Falcons too. I'm with Ben on this one. The fact that I don't think the Carolina Panthers really have enough to just come out and win this game at their own will. And the Atlanta Falcons are still looking for a win, and I hope that the Saints give the Bucks a lose or a loss, I should say, not a lose. But so Atlanta's going to come out and do what they have to do to win to have at least a chance to get into the playoffs if the Bucks slip up.
Yeah, I think they'll take care of business at well at home, rejuvenated with Michael Penix. I think the Falcons will get the win. All right, let's talk about the other half of that NFC South, though. We have the Saints at the Buccaneers. Tampa Bay is favored by 14 in this one. I won't even go through the laundry list of people that aren't playing for the Saints anymore. You guys know where we're at this point. Ben, what do you got here? Saints at Bucks. Does Tampa Bay get into the playoffs?
I'm going to say yes. I almost kind of wish, considering that the Falcons have beaten the Buccaneers twice and have the tiebreaker, I kind of wish the Buccaneers were playing a real team this week, but the Saints are all beat to pieces. Interim coach, Derek Carr's not playing. I mean, where are the Saints going to get a victory at here? So Buccaneers probably by a lot.
Parker?
Yeah, I'm gonna lean Bucks too, as much as I was just talking about the Falcons having a chance. I think Tampa Bay is gonna take care of business, do what they gotta do to, seal the division and get their spot in the playoffs secured.
All right, let's move over to the AFC East now. We have the Bills at the Patriots. Buffalo is favored by 3, but sounds like they will be one of those teams starting most of their guys, at least for like maybe a drive, and then they'll be pulling their starters here pretty quickly. I think they're trying to keep Josh Allen's played game streak alive, so they'll probably play a little bit, and then they'll pull some guys. The only guy officially out for Buffalo is Terrell Bernard, the linebacker. He is out once again with a quad injury. Over for New England, a lot of the same guys are out as they have been most of the season, but Christian Gonzalez is also once again out with that concussion he got a couple weeks ago. So no Christian Gonzalez for the Patriots. Ben, what do you got here? Bills favored by 3. Is Mitch Trubisky going to have a fun week 18?
Yeah, probably. This is one of those weird games, man, where you're like, hey, did the Bills backup stand a chance against a poor Patriots roster? I figure the game is tight. I figure the game is ugly. I don't necessarily know that it's low scoring because between Trubisky and Drake May, you could have a lot of passes and
Hmm.
yardage thrown around. So I don't know, maybe a 23-20 kind of a game. I'm going to go ahead and pick the Patriots here. It's just fun to pick the Patriots against the Bills because, it's just fun here this week.
Parker, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna take. Oh man, this is tough. I guess I'm gonna take the Patriots. They do have a quarterback already, so like maybe they're not worried about getting one of those
Yeah,
top three spots.
definitely.
I think Drake May has kind of proven to be that, he's gonna work there if they can get some guys around him.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna take the Patriots to win for fun, kind of with Ben. I know Josh Allen's only starting because he has one of those like stupid superhero, like this many starts in a row, Iron
Yeah.
Man type thing going on.
Mhm.
But I think New England probably wins this one, especially because they kept it close even with Josh Allen in the game a few weeks ago. I don't think New England's sitting anybody for any type of reason.
No, the only thing I am going with the Bills in this. I'm like you guys. I wanted to go with the Patriots. The only thing that held me up was no Christian Gonzalez. That Patriots defense has been
Yeah.
so bad this year, but it somehow took two steps down when Gonzalez stopped playing a couple of weeks ago. If he was in, I'd be like, oh, Mitch Trubisky is going to get eaten. There's going to be one or two bad picks, both to Christian Gonzalez. But no Gonzalez. I think Trubisky will take care of the ball. They'll run the ball. Their backup offensive linemen are even pretty good. So I think they'll run this thing out. Maybe Josh Allen gets a touchdown on the first drive, and they keep a 7-0 lead the whole way. Who knows? So I'm going to go with the Bills on this one, go the other way. Jags at Colts. Talk about some teams who have completely different vibes now than they each did like 5 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, or something. Indianapolis is favored by 3.5 in this one at home. Ben, which way are you going here?
I'll pick the Colts. This game should be tight. Now, I am curious to see, do both teams emotionally show up for this game? I mean, there's a chance one of them just doesn't show up and gets run out of the building. But this game should be tight. It should be kind of a fun game that doesn't really mean a whole heck of a lot of anything for any playoff standings or anything. But give me the Colts here in a kind of fun game as long as both teams are putting in some effort.
Should mention, and I know this won't have any bearing on Ben, but should mention that Anthony Richardson is out once again with that back injury. We were wondering if that was a shadow benching last week, but he was talking to the media this week saying he was literally crawling around his house because he had,
Hmm.
I forget if it was like a herniated something or slipped something or whatever. You don't like back stuff, but he is out once again. So it will be Joe Flacco in this one. Parker, what do you got here?
Yeah, I'm gonna take this one's tough for me. I'm gonna take the Colts. I think that it just doesn't make sense for Jacksonville to win a game here either. Like I don't know, man. It's like who's gonna try to lose? I don't really know what to do. I'm gonna take the Colts and just hope that that's the right way to go.
I'm taking the Jags in this one. That this is my Patriots. They're playing kind of fun and feisty right now, man. I kind of like what they're doing. The Colts vibes are horrible. All the stuff that's come out in the last week or so, starting with Pat McAfee on Twitter ripping this franchise, and then Shane Steichen not making anybody feel better in press conferences after. Um, and let's not forget, the year was 2021. I'm old enough to remember when the Colts needed a win and in scenario in week 18 against the Jacksonville Jaguars, um, with Carson Wentz at quarterback. And this was 2021 Jacksonville, who went 3-14 on the season. And the Colts lose that game 26-11 and don't make the playoffs. I bet everybody, at least in Jacksonville, knows that, although I don't even know how many players they still have from that team. But I think Jacksonville gets the win here. I think we're going to see some hilarious celebrations and some real bad vibes for Indianapolis on the other side. So give me the Jags in this one. The Colts are already officially eliminated from the playoffs. But yeah, give me Jacksonville. Next up, we have Commanders at the Cowboys. Washington is favored by 6.5. They're locked into their playoff spot already. Um, Ben, what do you got here?
The, how many Commanders players are playing, right? So if they're locked in, that's the real question. I'll say this: the Cowboys didn't look good last week without CD Lamb, and Parker kind of alluded to that during last week's picks, and that proved to be a real big problem. So honestly, even if the Cowboys are trying, I'm not sure they pull out a win here. But give me the Commanders here in a tight one.
Parker, what do you got?
Yeah, man, I think even more than just CD being out, it's the fact that Rico Dowdle looked good like 3, 4 weeks ago, but the past 2 or 3 weeks, he's been like nothing. Like he it looked like Cowboys actually developed a decent run game, sort of. He was running like 80, 90 yards a game, and he's been running for 45 since then. So the fact that neither of those are working for them, I gotta take the Commanders to try to come out and get a win here.
Sounds like we also might get Trey Lance starting in this one. So there will be something to watch for if that happens for Parker with the side eye. He's not feeling that.
Whatever.
Listen, man, if you can get a little fourth round pick trade in the draft because of one game, you got to go for it. Is he even under contract? Anyways, this isn't a Trey Lance podcast. Let's
We
move
traded
on.
we traded for him. Yeah. I mean, we
We'll,
whatever.
the sunk cost. Don't worry about that part.
And I'm sorry for interrupting. this could have changed since I've been reading up on. When I was reading up on it, it was still Commanders and Packers battling over 6, 7 seeds. Is that
Oh,
what
there
you
you go.
guys are hearing?
I don't 11 and 5.
Ben,
Yeah,
Ben,
they
are,
probably
Ben, are
are.
you, Ben, are you trying to be funny because of what I said last week?
No,
Because I was like, I don't think you were like 6 or 7. Doesn't matter. I was like, oh, it
no, I
matters.
didn't say that. No, absolutely not.
No.
But
Peak,
five
peak,
and six was
a
the
rare
argument.
peek
Oh,
behind the
five,
Six and
five
curtain
and
of this
seven
six.
show.
mattered a whole heck of a
Okay,
lot
you're
because
you're right.
you
You're
don't want to
right.
go to Philadelphia and play. So last
You're
I
right.
saw, though, they're still battling over that. In which case, Commanders would have a lot to be playing for here, and they'd be playing everyone.
I think you're right, Ben. I think you're right. Peek behind the curtain here, which we don't do on this show. Try to keep it tight. Parker and Ben here had like a 30-minute debate. We'll call it a debate. That sounds friendlier. On the viability of
I don't
playing
think it
for
was
5, 6,
ugly.
7 seeds. No, it wasn't. But I don't like confrontation. I muted that thing and took some more notes. Anyways, we'll move on here from that. Good calling you, Ben. They probably are playing for seeding still. I think that's right. So we're all going Commanders here, I believe. So let's get into the other half of the NFC East here and go Giants at Eagles. Philly is favored by 2.5, despite they are openly not playing their starter. Saquon is not playing for the record. Jalen Hurts isn't playing. AJ Brown isn't playing. Lane Johnson. They're going with their backups in this one. Ben, your boy Tanner McKee is starting, I think, for the Eagles. Kenny Pickett was hurt a couple weeks ago with a ribs injury.
Wait,
Um,
wait. Why is Tanner McKee Ben's boy?
Ben likes a little Tanner McKee, and you know what? So do Eagles fans. McKee was getting a lot of love during preseason and training camp. A lot of people
Okay.
wanted him to be the official backup, and now that once Kenny Pickett started playing, everybody in Eagles land has been waiting for Tanner McKee, and they liked what they saw from him last week. So, Ben, a little retribution for you. A couple years later, Tanner McKee season is upon us. What do you got here in this game? How you feel? Take your victory lap on Tanner McKee.
Oh yeah, the Tanner McKee era starts right now, baby.
Ben
Week
doesn't even
18
remember that he
against the
liked Tanner McKee. He
Giants.
was like, I like Tanner
He's
McKee.
like my guy. Who's Tanner McKee?
McKee does have a stronger arm than Kenny Pickett, so that bodes well here. Now, listen, he doesn't have a cannon, and he's got no game day experience, or not much of it, but it gives him a chance. I'll still pick the Eagles here. Um, Man, the Eagles' backups are still pretty good. So I'll
Yeah.
pick the Eagles here at home against the Giants. I don't think they're going to allow Drew Lock to look as good as he did last week. So I'm not even sure Lock has a back-to-back performance like that in his repertoire. But I'll pick the Eagles here in a game that not too many people will be too worried about.
Yeah, now that Luck is all but taking the Giants out of the first overall pick conversation, he's going to go back to a pumpkin. Parker, what are you thinking in this one? You going with Tanner McKee and the Eagles backups?
Dude, I would 99% of the time take Tanner McKee and the Eagles backups, yes. If the New York Giants didn't win last week, like the fact that they came out and won and said, pretty much forget the draft. Like, who cares? We want to win football games is like, what's going on in New York? Is Dayball like, does he know that he's out? And he's like, okay, well then I know I'm going to coach against you at some point. So I'm leaving this place a mess, or I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to take the Giants. I'm going to take them. I'm going to go against the grain here. Take the Giants to just come out and like their players are just so dumb that they're trying to get a win for what reason nobody knows. And yeah, I'm going to take New York.
I'm going to take the Eagles in this one. They looked a lot better offensively last week, going in with the game plan of knowing their backup quarterback was going to be playing, as opposed to 2 weeks ago with the Commanders when Hurts got hurt and they had to kind of pivot in the game. So I think they'll do the same thing here. I think they'll have a good game plan for their backups all across the board. And yeah, I don't think Drew Lock is doing what he did last week again. So give me the Eagles in here. Bears at Packers, finishing up the 1 o'clock slate. Green Bay is favored by 10 in this one. No starters resting for Green Bay. Like Ben said, they'll be competing with the Commanders for playoff seeding. Ben, which way are you going here?
Yeah, Packers by a lot. Bears struggling. Packers need it. So Packers by a lot.
Parker.
Yep, I'm going to take the Packers by a lot too. Packers need it, playing for seeding implications, so they have something to play for. I got to take Green Bay.
Yeah, I can't imagine back-to-back losses for Green Bay going into the postseason when it's a bad divisional opponent in the Bears. So give me Green Bay as well. Into the afternoon slate, Seahawks at Rams. Seattle is favored by 6.5. The Rams are benching a lot of their starters, Stafford, Puka, Cooper Cup, various other players will not be playing this one for Los Angeles. Ben, which way are you going here?
Seahawks by a lot here. Even if the Rams were playing all their guys, I'd be tempted to think about, hey, who might win this game? But certainly Seattle's got all the guys rolling, and the Rams don't. So Seattle by a lot.
Parker.
Yeah, if all these guys are starting, I don't know if I'd be super able to like pick one side or the other, especially in a division matchup. But knowing who they're sitting, I got to go with Ben. Like Seattle's probably going to win this game by a touchdown or so. It seems like it's actually one of my favorites this week, as you'll see later in the show teaser. But I really like Seattle to win this game by a decent amount, just like Ben.
Yeah, give me Seattle too. It's got to be such a stinger to be eliminated from the playoffs on that weird strength of victory metric and to have it
Mhm.
happen last week. I think maybe even before Seattle had played last week. So really weird. So they want to take it to the Rams one last time before the season ends. Give me Seattle in this one. Dolphins at the Jets. Um, no Tua Tagovailoa once again for Miami. Tyler Huntley looks like he will be starting once again. The Jets obviously had that embarrassing blowout last week, but Miami is playing for playoff hopes. If they win and the Broncos lose, Miami is in the playoffs, so they have a lot to play for without their starting quarterback. They are favored by half a point, which I have not seen this season. I don't think so. We got a half point favorite here. Ben, what do you got?
I I am still making up my mind on this. I've got Dolphins written on the Excel sheet here, but this is the ultimate. It kind of makes me sick game this week. Out of a list of games that are kind of either wonky or nobody cares, you got the Jets here who have just been a travesty this year, and not just the start of the year, but all the way through, and even last week's blowout, and guys not really feeling like they were wanting to play and not playing too hard. It didn't feel like. But then you get the Dolphins, man, and the Dolphins have not looked good without Tua. They've got some of the worst backups in football, and even considering that, Simon, you mentioned it. It didn't seem like Mike McDaniel had much of a plan for the worst backups in football either to do something different. They didn't feel good with that. And I tell you what even makes me more sick on top of all of it, the Tua injury, which is a legit injury. I'm not questioning
Hmm.
his injury, but when he comes out a day or two ago and says, "Hey, guaranteed, no matter what, I will be on the field next week." Well, okay, just be quiet, man. I mean, your team's out here fighting without you for the second week in a row when they need a win, and they don't have you, and you're going to tell them, "Hey, no matter what, I'm out there next week, man. I'm all in." Like, just be quiet. Just go cheer on your teammates. That's not helping anything. I like you, but just makes me sick, man. The whole game. I think I'm going to switch my pick to the Jets here, just based on really how bad the Dolphins looked with their backups earlier in the season. So
Ben just put the juju on his own pick there and had to switch it over. Parker, what do you got in this one?
Yeah, way to confuse me, Ben. Thanks. I'm gonna because like honestly, I kind of like the Jets in this game. Like part of me was like, take the favorite. Like Miami needs a win to, try to get in the playoffs. Pick the logical pick. But same time, it's like, you know what? I'm going the other way too. I'm gonna take the Jets. I I like what Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams have been doing lately, late in the season. They're both playing this week, I'm assuming.
Yeah, assuming
I,
they don't pull themselves from the game like last week.
Okay. All right. Well then, yeah. Give me the Jets.
Um, I wanted to go with the Jets before, not before Ben spoke, just before in general when I was saying
Classic
something.
Simon. I want to pick
Um,
the team, but I'm not gonna.
I'm not gonna, and here's why.
All right.
The Jets have given up. They're done. They're done. After their bye week, they put up 21, 26, and 32 points. All right. So you're feeling good, right? They're making people think that they should run this thing back next year, right? Just bring in a different head coach and Rodgers and Adams and all these guys do it again. 9 points against the Rams, 14 points against the Bills, and those were Tyrod Taylor points. 0 points for Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, the starters. Miami is the most lackluster team I can think of. They're the soft handshake team. The Jets are like they didn't show up to the event, so you couldn't shake their hand. It's just not. They're just not. They're not playing this year. They're donezo. So as Miami's gonna limp to a win in this one. And listen, Miami beat Cleveland 20-3 last week. Are we giving the Jets any more credit than the Browns right now? I don't think so. Like they're the Browns right now. My voice is getting high. I'm going to come off of this topic, but I've got Miami limping to this one. Um, Ultimately, I don't think it'll matter. But I'm going with Miami. But ultimately, I don't think it'll matter because up next we have the Chiefs at the Broncos. The Chiefs are playing their backups. Carson Wentz is playing in this game. Pretty much everybody is sitting for Kansas City here. They've got the one seed locked up. Broncos, meanwhile, are playing for the playoffs. They need a win and they're in. They don't need any help winning in for the Broncos. Ben, what do you got here for this one? The Chiefs or the Broncos are favored by 10.5.
Yeah, so I've got the Broncos here for sure. The Broncos played the Chiefs tight in Arrowhead earlier in the year, and I know that was a stretch where Kansas City's playing all close games, but still Denver did it. And now you get back here in Denver and everybody's sitting. The only thing that even makes me hesitate is will Steve Spagnuolo and Andy Reid just enjoy the coaching challenge so much of coming up with elaborate offensive and defensive game plans that they maybe get Bo Nix to throw a couple of interceptions and maybe they score some points on some jet sweeps and stuff. But man, I've got the Broncos all the way here.
Parker, what do you got?
Yeah, even if the Chiefs miraculously were up like 14-7, with like 3 minutes left in the game, no, and it all lined up for the Bengals to have a chance to make the playoffs. I think they would run it out of the back of the end zone over and over and over until they lost the game so that the Bengals can't make it in. Knowing Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes, like, dude, they'd rather see a division opponent get in than like Joe Burrow and the hot Bengals
Yeah.
team that's, won eight, like 7 or 8 of the last 10 games, right? So no matter what, like this is probably like, dude, I'd put my house that Denver wins this game. Like essentially, I don't know. It's the easiest pick of the week for me. Denver Broncos.
I didn't even think of that angle. I don't know if we'll literally see running out the back of the end zone, but that's a great call by you. If Carson Wentz throws a couple touchdowns, maybe third stringers start to come in. Maybe they're like, all right,
Like,
we gotta let loose,
you got to think
let
about
loose
it.
of the
Like,
reins a
would
bit.
you rather see the Broncos or would you rather
100%.
see Joe Burrow in Arrowhead? Like, you're 100% taking Bo Nix.
You don't want to get into the second round if you're the Chiefs and you come off of your bye and you're like, wait, the Bills, the Ravens, and the Bengals are all here. What did we do
Oh,
to deserve that? We need
oh,
one of Texans, Broncos, Steelers chart. We need one of those teams to
and the
be here.
Bengals would be the 7 seed. So best believe they would be in Arrowhead second
100%.
round if they
Yeah. You
wanted
don't
it. So yeah, they're thinking ahead. They're
good
smart
call by
enough.
you.
They're thinking ahead.
Good call by you. All right, Chargers at Raiders here. Um, we have the oh gosh, where is it here? Chargers are favored by 4.5. I haven't seen anything about what the Chargers are doing for their roster. I'll double check here while we're talking. But Ben, what do you got here?
Yeah, and I was looking up the same thing throughout the week. Last I heard, they're planning to play them all, and even if they don't necessarily have anything to play for by game time, there's still a chance that Harbaugh may line them all up for the first quarter, first half, just to keep
Yeah,
them, fresh and rolling because that's kind of their mindset. But either way, I'm going to pick the Chargers here just because the Raiders, they're just not a good football team. If Chargers sit their starters, I still think the Chargers have a chance to win this thing. So I'll pick the Chargers in this game.
yeah. I think if the Steelers lose Saturday night. I think the Chargers, I don't know if they'd automatically get the 5 seed. They might have to win to get the 5 seed in that case. But if the Steelers win, I'm pretty sure they're locked in the 5 seed. So I think it will determine based on Saturday. Parker, what do you got here? Chargers at Raiders.
So I'm going to take the Chargers. Raiders really one of those bottom teams, man. Need to get a loss. Need a quarterback. Probably won't get a quarterback, at least a great one, unless they really want to trade up or something. But either way, the loss still helps. And yeah, Chargers are a better team, anyways.
All right, let's get to our final game, our final pick of the evening. We have the 49ers at the Cardinals. Arizona is favored by 4.5. The 49ers are put everybody's out. I won't say that almost sounded mean. Everybody's on vacation. Everybody is on a sunny beach somewhere. Brock Purdy is not playing in this one. Debo is not playing in this one. George Kittle is questionable in this one. Meanwhile, for the Cardinals, I believe everyone is basically healthy and playing. So Ben, what do you got here? Cardinals favored by 4.5 over the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, and this is the case where I'm going to change what I got written down on the spreadsheet. I had the 49ers. I'm going to switch that over to the Cardinals. With the 49ers, if they were playing a lot of these guys, I would pick the 49ers. But with them sitting so many of these players, then let's go Cardinals. It would be tight either way. Even if 49ers were playing these guys, it'd still be a tight game. But they give me the Cardinals here to win.
Parker.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Cardinals to win as well, knowing that all these guys are on vacation or doing whatever they're doing. And the Niners really just need to mail it in anyways. Like this has been a season from hell as far as injuries go and expectations preseason and results, especially like after week 10, it was like, all right, this Niners team really just isn't it. Their season ending so early. So I'm gonna take the Cardinals to win. I just think the Niners are down and out.
All right. Oh, wait. I am also taking the Cardinals. Just kind of forgot that part. Yeah, 49ers are done. Cardinals, one last moral victory here at the end of the season. Let's get to our bets here. I am in first still at 129.28 goats. Austin is in second at 106.54. Ben is in third at 78.39. And Parker is in last at a clean 50. Ben, what's a bet here that you want to go with?
Yeah, oddly enough, and I even alluded to this a few seconds ago, I've got Denver to win and Denver to win easy. But I'm going to play a little fun bet here because I don't actually think I'm going to win this contest anyway. This is a fun bet. Chiefs to cover at 5.5. So that's an alternate line, obviously. I think we said the line was something like 10. Chiefs to cover at 5.5. I can catch that at plus 183. And I'm going to put 8 goats worth on that. My reasoning is, and I already mentioned this, I'm curious to see, does Sean Payton play this game tight and conservative to see if he can win it without giving Bo Nix a chance to throw any interceptions? And does Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo take this game seriously enough to try to just have fun creatively and come up with a blitzing game plan on defense and some jet sweeps and some in routes on offense, just enough to where they keep this score close? And I think that's a real possibility, even though I love Denver to just straight up win this thing. So that's going to be my bet here. Chiefs cover at 5.5. I can catch plus 183 on that.
Yeah, I think we'll see Peyton be pretty conservative. I bet they get a lead, and then he's old school. He'll just try to run this thing out, and then the Chiefs get a end of game touchdown, garbage time. I think it's totally viable for this one. So that's a good one. Parker, what do you got here first?
Alrighty. So knowing that Tampa Bay's got to come out and win this week, I'm gonna bet that they come out and have a decent win. They're favored by 14 points. They're gonna score some touchdowns. I'm gonna take this bet that's at plus 525. I'm putting 25 of my 50 goats on it. I'm putting it all on the line this week, essentially. Um, Baker Mayfield to have more than 265 passing yards, Bucky Irving to have a touchdown, and I know that Mike Evans needs 8 receptions to have a $2 million bonus. I'm assuming he's going to do
Good
so.
one.
So it's Mike Evans to have 8+ receptions. It's 25 goats to win 156 goats.
I like that. That's a lot of fun. Yeah, they're gonna have to go for it. They're not sitting back, that's for sure. So they're gonna have to do that. And Bucky Irving's been running well. And yeah, Mike Evans, he always gets those incentives, man. Last week of the season, that you can always count on it like clockwork. All right, my first bet here. I'm going with an oldie, but slight different variation here. I'm going to Broncos Chiefs also. And I'm going with a Broncos defensive end to get over 2.25 sacks, but it's not my guy Nick Benito because his odds are so crazy bad now. It's like minus 150. I'd get like 3 goats. So I'm not doing all that. Jonathan Cooper on the other side. He's a little more hot right now. He's got 2.5 sacks in the last 4 games. He had 1.5 last week against Cincinnati. Over 0.25 sacks for Cooper at plus 130. 5 goats. He's been having a nice season, 9.5 sacks on the year. Not quite Benito levels, but he's doing well. So Carson Wentz, I think, is going to get hit a couple times. Give me Cooper, 5 goats at plus 130. Ben, what is your second bet?
This one's not quite as fun because I'm picking on a team here. The Packers and Bears game. The Packers have still reasons to play for this game. Packers are at home. Packers are still feeling pretty good about themselves, even though they can't seem to beat the top teams. against all these other kind of freelance middle teams and lower teams, they're winning and playing very well. And the Bears are just done this year, man. I mean, they are absolutely done. All the things that I saw from the play caller helping out Caleb Williams when they switched out Matt Eberflus early in the season and the offensive coordinator early in the season, those things that they were doing to help out Caleb Williams have all gone. They've just kind of gone right back to, hey, Caleb, throw the ball all over the field, and Caleb, run for your life. And it's unorganized, and it's leading to a lot more ball holding and sacks. And Caleb looked really frustrated out there. I mean, everything that they were doing in the middle of the season to help Caleb out, get rid of the ball quick, short routes, run the football. Caleb, you run the football. Only 1 and 2 read stuff. It's all gone. I mean, every bit of it. And the vibes are just terrible there in Chicago. And I don't think they have much chance in this game. So alternate line, Packers to win by 15.5. That's a lot, but I'm not sure the Bears score more than 10 points in this game, honestly. I'm just really not. So give me the Packers by 15.5 at plus 153 and 8 goats worth.
I like it. Parker, what do you got?
I like that one, Ben. I actually really like it. I'm gonna spend my other 25 goats, man. Here's the parlay of the week. Here we go. It's an 8-legger, a lot of heavy favorites.
Oh, 8
Uh,
legger.
it is, yeah, but the worst odds on the parlay are minus 225. So everything's like super heavy favorite. Like I feel very safe. Not very safe. 8 legs is a lot, but I feel safe-ish. So here we go. I got Baltimore to win straight up, Green Bay to win straight up, Arizona, Tampa Bay, Seattle, Denver, Washington, and Atlanta. All 8 just to win. And it's 25 goats to win 104 goats. So hoping that one of these two really cash in to just give me what I need to kind of try to get a win here. And
That's great.
if they both miss, I'm rock bottom. It just is what it is. It's all or nothing.
You can't go any lower.
No.
Tech, well, you might be able. We might figure a way
Man,
to
if
do that,
someone
but
gave you
we'll
$100
get there.
and you didn't spend it, you'd look at them like you'd look at that person like they were silly, right? Like it's $100 you didn't have before. That's what this is. I got given 100 goats to start the season. Be glad that I still have 50 of them. I mean,
You're
come
like a
on.
coach who you're like a coach who loses the game with 2 timeouts left. Like, what were you doing, man? You probably should have used those at some point. You're just showing that you played the game.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going with a much simpler bet. I'm taking one team to win, but they are an underdog. I am taking the Steelers at plus 120 to win this game. 5 goats here. Like I said, I just don't imagine a world where they lose 4 straight going into the playoffs against a division opponent at home. So plus 120 on the Steelers. I'm only putting 5 goats on it. I'm not the most confident in the world, but I'll sit there as I cower in my first place position by betting so little, so few goats. All right. That is going to do it, everybody. Everyone, hope you all won your fantasy championships. Hope all of your college football teams are still playing or won a bowl game or something. Hope all your NFL teams have something to play for, or you're having fun on Tankathon and Mock Draft Database. Either way, enjoy the weekend, enjoy Week 18, and we will see you come playoff time. Thank you all so much for checking out Box Score Network. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you like this video. We will talk to you soon.